Are you wondering how to build your startup when you don't have the critical connections to investment and human capital? Our guest will share how she's helping to bridge the access gap for diverse founders. It's Fab Female Founder Friday on the Startup Life Live Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Startup Life Live Show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, startup coach to first-time founders. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, I now help newly minted founders sleep through the night by giving them peace of mind. And I call it Ande-licious advice. It's core startup business strategies, tools, and resources delivered with high enthusiasm, inspiration, and joy. Well, viewers, I got to tell you, today is January 8th, 2021, and it's been a really tough time here in America. And honestly, a part of me wants to run down to DC and conduct a 25th Amendment myself. Who's going to hold my beer? That's how angry and frustrated I feel. But there's another part of me that wants to dive under the covers, cry my eyes out, and, trying to find ways to manage my own PTSD that's been triggered by this event. But I know from past experience that neither violence nor in isolation works well. So I felt it was important to connect with community. And we all know the best way to feel better is to help others, right? And I know today's guest will serve so many founders on their journey. So thank you for carving out time to tune in and cheer on our fabulous female founder. And for those of you watching now or via the replay, please like this video and be sure to click the YouTube subscribe button. Thank you. I am so honored and excited to introduce you to our guest, Kimmy Paluch. Let me just pull up some artwork here so I can share some of the deliciousness about this phenomenal founder. She's the founder and managing partner of FIVABLE, a venture academy that invests in underestimated founders and uniquely bridges the access gaps they face through a venture academy model. Startup teams admitted to FIVABLE's academy are paired with product marketing, sales, and fundraising experts that become their coaches and essentially their temporary co-founders. And FIVABLE's team helps founders execute, provides feedback and coaching, and implements practices and systems to help founders execute at a world-class level. Oh my gosh, doesn't that sound so wonderful? Sign me up, please. Where do I apply? We're going to get into all the details of this fab female founder. Please welcome to the show, Kimmy Paluch.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. So excited.
So excited to have you here as well. Hey, Kimmy, where are you hailing from today?
I'm in Salt Lake City right now, Utah.
Beautiful. Is it cold this time of year in Salt Lake?
It sure is, but not too bad. And that's coming from a Jamaican, so take my word for it.
Well, I'm here in Boston, and it was 24 when we got up, so that's okay. I can work with that. It might get up to 40. Let us know, folks, where you're hanging from so we can give you a woohoo. And you know that I love it when the founders put in the name of their business and their URL. I want to bring it up on the screen and give you a thumbs up and a high five and all that good vibe and let people know what you're doing in the world. So don't forget to do that. We are streaming live, Kimmy, across right now simultaneously on LinkedIn. Hi, LinkedIn viewers, Facebook, yay, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch. That's because we're streaming from StreamYard platform. It's so wonderful. And, folks, this is also a great time to network because, you got to take these moments, whether it's a Zoom webinar or a live stream event like this, to share your URL, your business, to network. It's so very important that we connect online. And I'm going to be pulling up Kimmy's banner right here. And I know she would love to have you connect with her on LinkedIn. You can see it at the bottom there, and I'll throw it into the comment section. Vote now. And connect with Kimmy because you're going to learn so much from this extraordinary woman who has really just forged ahead in life with so much gusto and commitment and positivity. So let's just say hi to a few folks who are hanging with us today. Hey, Eric Cox from Media Prepared. Thank you you're very welcome, Eric. I just really had a need to put that out today. So Kimmy, Eric's business, Media Prepared, prepares especially founders for those moments when the mic is shoved in their face and they're like, how do I say it? What do I say? What are the key points? You need to be prepared, and that takes practice. And so Eric does phenomenal work around that. And then we have Mia Voss, who is just a delicious lifestyle blogger and mouthy activist, if you want to know the truth. And she's been a phenomenal live streamer and a podcast host of an amazing podcast called Shit We Don't Talk About. Okay.
Love it.
Right. And she goes there every time. So I'm so thrilled to see you, Mia. And Sad, come on. How great to be here. All right. So Kimmy, Sad has a Maya. Okay. So Maya is one of these going to be an AI robot. Sad, I'm not going to explain it well until I have you on the show in a few weeks. I know that, but put the URL in there and let me that I can do a better job explaining what you do, because it is an incredible new AI conversation business that he and his brothers are rocking it. So happy you tuned in. And here's my co-host of the monthly pitch event, Kimmy. His name is Ande Jack, and from Synergy Consulting here in Boston. And he and I co-host the monthly pitch event in Boston called Founders Live Boston, where we have 5 featured founders who have 99 seconds to pitch their business. But I refer people to AJ all the time if they are tech and need marketing support, because he just knows how to rock it. Thank you. Meet Maya. Thank you. And Seth's going to be on in a few weeks sharing everything about his phenomenal product and what he and his brothers have been working on. So I'm so excited. I can't wait either, Seth.
Yeah, check it out. Awesome.
Oh yeah, you will love it. So, we have today, folks, this phenomenal woman who, for me, when you look at her LinkedIn, you scroll down to her education, you see that she got her degree in computer science back in around 2000, Kimmy?
2004, yeah.
2004. Okay, so first of all, a woman in computer science, okay, woman of color, come on. And at an Ivy League school, Dartmouth University. So love that. And then you segued into MIT Sloan School, right?
That's right. Love MIT. Your backyard.
Oh, we do a lot of great things at MIT. So lucky to have them here. And they just add so much value. And so I feel like you're here because you know where we are here in Boston from that. But then you got all this great education. But then you needed to start applying it. Where are you going to take and do and be in the world? And along the way, something compelled you. Something went, yoo-hoo, let's start a business. There was a problem that needed solving. What called you, Kimmy, to launch your business and say, I want to hang my shingle out? There must have been something you had seen along the way. Talk a little bit about that. And before you dive into that, what compelled you, share with folks some of the fun companies you got to work at before you put out your shingle and start becoming an entrepreneur. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So in terms of starting, I didn't think I was going to go and become a founder. So you mentioned me getting my degree. I was a computer science major. And so I got it in Dartmouth in New Hampshire. And I said, where do you take a tech degree? Bay Area. And I always wanted to go to California, actually. So I went to the Bay Area expecting to take the engineering route, go and work maybe at a big company like Google, be coding and work my way up. It didn't work out that way. I had a actually really hard time getting an engineering job. I got a few, and then I started doing consulting basically right out of college. I worked with a law firm to help stand up their ones. And actually, it was a female-founded company, which is funny to come right back around to what I'm doing today.
Right.
But yes, I started charting my career basically. And because I had that initial entrepreneurial experience, I think that's what led me to start taking some of the risks that I did later on. So I worked for a company for about a year. as a user experience designer and decided that I saw a better way to do it. And so basically my husband and I pulled off and just started our own firm. We're like, we could do this ourselves. And we built that company over
Okay. How many people can relate? We knew we could do this better. And that's great. And also, I think you were coming out after, MIT in a real tough time period in our economy. Wasn't that around 2007, 2008, or?
It was actually, I went in right after that. So
okay.
I went to school back in 2009, and then I graduated in 2011.
Yeah.
So after another rough period. So.
Yeah. I got to tell you, the best thing to do in a downturn, if you have the money, is just take time out and get educated.
Yeah.
if you can afford it. That's wonderful. And I know that you worked at some companies, one a wonderful local company here, HubSpot. Did you join them? Did you meet them while you were at MIT?
I did. And actually I worked with them while I was in school. So we had a break period, and I worked with that group, and I loved them. And then I consulted for them after I graduated as well. But the entrepreneurial bug hit me again. So I had the opportunity to maybe join them, but I decided to do it on my own again.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many stock options, folks. If you're called to do it yourself, you're going to do it. But what was great is that I believe it was around 2009 that HubSpot was in the innovation lab and incubating at MIT. So you got to see them, because I know I met them when they were a big team of maybe 10 in 2010. So you got to see them in their little baby stage, and I'm sure you learned a lot. Yeah.
I did. I loved them. I was with their product team, and they were exceptional. And their sales team is just a brilliant, brilliant group. They were run by Mark Baberish at the time, and they were phenomenal in how they set things up. But that product, seeing what it was then and what it's become, it's just phenomenal to see. And all of that was they were just experimenting so much. And I think that's a testament to them. They really wanted to see how far they could push it, and they used the product themselves. It was their problem they were solving, which is
beautiful.
Key.
And not only that, that gave you incredible insights, because you're watching this founding team do great things really well, and probably some things that weren't so great. You could say, wow, that's a learning moment. So it's always fun, folks, if you're thinking about becoming a founder someday, to actually go in and help out a startup group and learn about what it's like to surf those waves of uncertainty and trial and error, et cetera.
Yeah.
So,
but I'll say huge credit to Dharma and Shah. They were fairly big by the time I was working with them.
Yeah.
In terms of, they were across the road from MIT, no longer on the campus. And but they were already thinking about IPO. They were like, okay, here are the things that we need to do. And so the vision was very, very clear, and that team was extremely well run.
Absolutely. They were probably coming out from the .com world, because not many people think IPO when they launch a business.
Right.
They're thinking how do I get up to certain levels and levels and levels, and maybe there's an IPO or maybe there's an acquisition opportunity there.
Yeah.
But what we learned through the .com owner here period was that it was all about the IPO. That was the mindset, and that's what you were doing, and that's why you were in business. So that's great. So then you moved from Boston to?
I went back to the Bay Area. So I moved to Oakland and was there for 5 years. Love Oakland. Oaktown's the best. And so when I went back, I started consulting again, actually, but then moved into a different realm, so the ed tech realm. I'll say one of the best things, if someone is a consultant or thinking about doing it, the best thing is that you train yourself in so many different industries. You learn so much, and you learn to learn quickly, which I think is phenomenally important as a founder and in anything you do, really. So that experience was really great. So ed tech was when I started working in that, and I love that realm.
Wow. And folks, Kimmy, you also have worked at TiVo, you've worked at LeapFrog. So, you got some nice brand names under your tiara that helped you start to formulate what you're going to do. And of course, as you said, I knew how to do things better.
You got to believe in yourself first.
Exactly. So important. And so how did you make that transition? Was it a side hustle? Because I know you have your husband and he works closely with you. How did you make that? And tell us about how that all came to be.
For the first time around or this time around?
Oh, we'll go to FIVABLE in a second, because we got to understand how you made that decision? It's one thing to set up be a solopreneur or a consulting practice or a coaching, but when you're building a team, like what was that like for you the first time?
Yeah, the first time around was very scary. I didn't think that I could do it actually, but my husband and I talked about it and we decided that I would be the first one to leave. So we were actually working at the same company. So we did know we could work together at the time. And I rolled off first and basically started to see if I could do this. And so I was doing just cold selling and trying to basically, I had our portfolio built out and was starting to see, could I get initial clients? And once I had those initial clients, then my husband rolled off and then it was off to the races. Then we could grow and get other people and get more businesses. But a lot of what we did, and when you're first starting out, is you do have to leverage your past experience. And so really looking back at like, what are the things that I've either built or can use as case studies, but beyond that, to help sell yourself and know that you can actually then work with these companies that you're selling to, it's a huge thing. But selling was a new thing for me, so I had to learn that on the fly. And that's one thing I definitely tell founders to get trained in and that we help initial founders with.
It's a skill set you can be trained in, folks.
Yeah, you can get better.
It's a process. Don't avoid it. Hi, Naveed. So good to see you. Happy 2021. How are things in your world? And hey, Ted. Yes, a film producer. These are Ted. Beautiful. I'm reading your comment and not reading it out loud, Ted. I'm so sorry. But you can, learning from observation vicariously can teach you a lot of things ahead of time. That is so true. So, I just wanted to, as I looked at your background, and viewers, it was so much fun diving into Kimmy's background because she's done so many extraordinary things. I saw this common thread, and it seemed to me, and maybe just as an observer, something that I saw about you, but you have this extensive background in what I would call community building and leadership. How did you develop that? Was that a skill that came naturally to you? Is that something you did as a kid in school, or how have you become to me, a great community builder and connector?
I appreciate that. I don't think it was natural for me. I'm an admitted introvert, though I think I'm the one that actually, I can be very social, but then I go into a corner for a long time after I do that. But, I think part of this was instilled in my father. My father always reiterated us, no man is an island, no woman is an island. And so I think I recognized early that to get things done, you don't do them alone. But it was something that I had to fight against myself because I tend to be someone who has trouble delegating. And I think it's good to know where you're strong and where you're not. But the thing that I think I realized is that you don't get anything done without other people. And so community is the fundamental way that you will execute on anything, any of your dreams that you want to do, both personally and in business. So I don't know that it was intentional, but it's something that just has happened. And I think as I look at business now, community will be the linchpin of all businesses. If we look at the ones that are rising, they have built brand and community, and they nurture that community. It's not something that just happens alone. And in the business I'm in now, relationships will end or break or make different businesses. And so you need to have other people. You can't do things alone. Absolutely.
And that goes for solopreneurs. I had to learn that. Well, when you're so good at everything, you think you should do it all.
Don't do it. That's the first thing. Building a team is a fundamental thing. I think especially even in the beginning, even if you don't have resources, you can get help and you can build a community and a tribe to support you because it's a lonely journey.
Yeah, because also, folks, as a founder, as we were talking earlier, Kimmy was sharing, you can learn sales. That's part of it. That is bringing people on, getting them inspired about your vision so that they'll take that big cut and pay. For the future reward, for the excitement of working at a startup. And so as you build your business, think about that acquisition, the talent acquisition, the human capital. That's right, Mia. Community will be the linchpin of all businesses. Boom. And Mia is a community builder big time. She's got people who love and adore her from around the world. And hey, just a little note from Naveed, everybody. So let's just say a quick hi. Things are progressing. We found out we need 750K for the mobile and web app, struggling with whether or not we need to focus on proof of concept without. Okay, everybody, this is typical struggles, right, Kimmy? Mm-hmm. Secondly, struggling with the concept of needing bridge capital so I can focus 100% on the new venture without losing my primary income. Naveed, how grateful are we that you openly shared what is a common struggle for many founders, getting the capital in and bridging the gap. And we're going to talk a lot about that with Kimmy. So stay with the conversation because you'll want to go visit Beta Boom and get to know everything she's got going on. Okay. So Beta Boom came into your hearts, you and your husband, whose name is?
Sergio.
Sergio. Hi, Sergio. Great videos on YouTube, Sergio. Just saying. How is it that you two decided to do this? What was it that you saw? What was this problem that you saw? And then, of course, we'll talk about how you proved it. But why? And why Beta Boom?
Yeah, we had started another startup at the time, and we're living in the Bay Area. And I think it really came through a function of things. So one, I started to pay attention to the numbers in the startup landscape, specifically around funding and how few funding is received by female founders and founders of color and other minority groups or underrepresented groups, I should say, in the tech industry. So that was the initial awakening moment for me, is just how big the problem was. And it was something that I related to. Like, I could see like some of the uphill battles I had in my own journey, both as an entrepreneur and just as a woman in tech, that it just started to sink into me about the issues, really. But we were starting to get frustrated with some of the things that we were seeing getting funded in the Bay Area. I think Juicera actually was the big one that was the straw that brought the camel's back, when we just said there's so many founders doing incredible things and solving real world problems. And look at how much capital is being flowed into issues that really are inconsequential and affect the 1%. And so we got frustrated with just that piece. And then we started to look ourselves outside of the Bay Area and started to look at other tech ecosystems. And we realized that even the issues that we felt in the Bay Area were extremely magnified outside, the minute that you got outside of the big three hubs. And so that was our moment where we just started talking to a lot of founders, both outside of the Bay Area, in the Bay Area, funders, economic development groups. And we just realized that we saw the piece that was missing. Like, at the early stage, you have pre-seed funding and funds, which are pretty much hands-off. Then you have accelerators, and the best ones are extremely competitive, hard to get into, and they rely on mentorship, and didn't really fix some of the gaps that we were seeing for founders that were being excluded, really, in the opportunities for growing and funding.
What were some of those gaps that you were seeing?
I think some of the things that you mentioned right at the beginning is access to networks, both for capital and human capital. And I think people forget the human capital piece. Like, money is needed, but there is a huge level of opportunity that's being missed. Just getting access to not just information, because we have Google. It's not about that. It's about the execution day to day and how we actually can iterate and actually speak the language too of investors. So we were seeing the opportunity to do what we've done in consulting in the venture space. What we had done with consulting was we would have teams go into companies and basically get their products from the beginning to the end, but more than anything is train their teams so that they can execute without us once we're done. And that's what we felt that we needed for founders, is don't just give me money and then say good luck, but actually help guide them so that they're setting the right foundations to be successful later. And if we look at some of the accelerators and some of the other programs that are out there that have typically been provided or created for the majority that have been served to date, they're not fixing some of the gaps. Yeah. So if you think about like the investors that they might see after they're done with the program, those biases are not being addressed. So the success rates that you're going to see for founders who are either female or from different educational backgrounds, different geographies where the access gaps are greater, those success rates aren't as high. And so that's what we wanted to solve. And that's what we realized, that we were perfectly suited from the 15 years that we've been consulting to bring that into the venture space.
Yeah, I see it too as understanding the investor's agenda. Okay, they have raised a bunch of money, whether they're angels or with a fund or venture capital. And so they have to have a return on that investment. So they're going to go with things that they know work. Mm-hmm. Oh, they've got a degree at MIT. Oh, they went to Stanford. Oh, they've already had a business. Oh, they know this person, that person, that person. That gives me a level of confidence to go ahead. And what happens is that puts up blinders. And so now you don't see, as the investor, you're just not aware that there are all these very capable people out there that don't have pedigree degrees or pedigree connections that will soar, that will make things happen if somebody can just give them a little bit of a lift.
Yeah, the thing that we say, and I have it in the back behind me, is start a new pattern. For us, the venture capital pattern matching is what is prohibiting us from both economic opportunity and societal opportunity. We're missing so many great innovations and innovators because we're matching against ridiculous metrics like, did you go to a certain school, which has been proven, by the way, not to be indicative of success. Yes, you might have networks, but there's so many great opportunities. And when we talk about grit and hustle of founders, those are like in spades for founders that have such an uphill battle. And so that's what we're not betting on, but really betting against.
And also the fact that these founders have the ability. They just haven't been shown what to do. What do they need to focus on? How do we go here? It's going to be just like a second to get them up and running because their ability is so strong, or capability is so strong. And it doesn't take but a few conversations, here's how you go, do this, do that, talk to this person. So you're right. Start a new pattern.
And Ande, it goes back to what we just said with Naveed. It's just like we learn through observation. And some of the founders we work with haven't had the opportunity to work with the companies that we've talked about. And so that kind of apprenticeship hasn't happened. So why not unlock those founders at the beginning and actually give them that apprenticeship that they need, give them that capacity building that they need at the outset, because those are gaps that can be filled, and we shouldn't be, demoting founders because they haven't had that experience.
And I'm going to take a vote. I think this is a really great stitch that on a pillow moment. Start a new pattern, right, everybody? Come on. That is how you make change, is you get people off their groove, off of what they're used to seeing and experiencing, and boom, you started a new pattern that will then broaden the scope, especially for those VC funds who keep talking about how they want to be doing all the things that they do. But I've got a scorecard here, folks, and you're not doing so well. So here we go. Just a few comments. Oh, I'm so glad, Naveed. Don't worry. You can watch the replay. Okay. You'll just grab the link, come back. You're on LinkedIn. It'll be always there, but it's also in YouTube. And yes, AJ, very accurate, Kimmy. Information is everywhere, but solid execution is rare. Woo, and learning that. And I know that, I had to sort of, when I read, when I first met Beta Boom, which I found you on Twitter, my favorite social media bar, but quickly followed you over on Instagram as well. And I noticed what you were doing. And there was this wonderful support that you just don't see on all those different columns that you need as you're building the foundation of your business. It's just so cool. But you had to go through what every founder goes through, which was that you had this concept, this hypothesis. How do we bridge the gap? And we're going to do it this way. And we're going to, put money in. We're going to put talent in, time in. We're going to teach, ed tech going on. But, and yes, folks, it's that time. How did you prove that value prop?
Yeah.
Folks, value proposition is everything. Go ahead, Kimmy, share.
Yeah, so we knew we had to walk the talk, and so we sold our house in the Bay Area and immediately moved to Salt Lake City with the intention of running a program. So we had, after speaking to hundreds of founders, we knew exactly what we wanted to be doing in our program, much more hands-on, tackling the things we talked about, product, marketing, sales, fundraising, and just being very, very tactically focused. So not just doing broad mentorship, but everyday execution and feedback. And so we started our program in 2018. We used our own capital to basically kickstart, and we invested in 6 companies here in the Salt Lake. Actually, they came across from the US. So about 4 of the 6 companies were from outside of the Utah area, and 2 were fully based here.
Yeah, so before we dive into Beta Boom, can I just get a barometer? And thank you for sharing that value prop, how you set it up and you got the folks in. Yeah, I just want to sort of pull that circle together, everybody, about how important it is to have that hypothesis, but then start getting people in and having them do it, your customers buying, et cetera. It's so key. And I always got to be thinking about that, you first-time founders. Let's just take a quick minute, though, because you've seen all types. You've seen bootstrapping, you've seen angel funding, and you've seen venture capital funding. Do you have a little barometer check that you can give us on what you think is a healthy way to proceed? Or perhaps each company is so different that we have to do what's right for that particular business or that particular founder team. What are your thoughts on funding?
Yeah, no one answer for any one company is the short answer. And I think that's important for us to iterate for founders. It's like you don't have to take a single path. I think there's a single path that is lauded in media of, you do the big seed first and then the Series A and the Series B. And if you talk to most founders, that's not traditionally what happens. And definitely female founders and founders of color that have to be more creative and navigate the biases that we know exist. So I would say there is no one single answer. I think the one truth that is often repeated is to go to fundraise when you're at a momentum point is important, because sometimes when you think about fundraising, it's a probability game, and the higher that you can increase your chances of closing a round, the more efficient your time is spent on the fundraising trail. So elongating the first time that you go out for funding is actually good. I know it's challenging. It's hard because you don't have a lot of resources in the beginning. But what we try and do with our founders when we talk about the fundraising track and how we work with them is thinking creatively about how you actually get from point A to point B and what milestones you need to reach to be ready for point B and the milestones that you want to reach once you've actually closed that round. So I think it's about being creative. And if we think about it, there's actually a lot more opportunities now for non-dilutive capital. So when I say non-dilutive, I mean not equity-based capital. And I think exploring those options, there's grant opportunities, pitch competitions. I really think founders taking advantage of those things, even though it can be time consuming.
Yeah.
Thank you. You should try and do those things. And then number one is revenue. And when I think about our first business, it was a service business, but the first thing we did was started generating revenue. And that can be the best. You're learning from a customer. They're the ones investing in you. Revenue first. But if you can't do that, then definitely be creative and looking at all options, not just equity.
All of that advice, so important. I love it. Founders, you may remember when I had Nikhil Sehgal from Vast Minds on the show, and this is an AI health tech company. Okay, they're tracking not just health, doing long distance health, so you can get a great doctor, but you live, miles and miles away, you can still get the great diagnosis. He's also doing it for space travel to monitor health when they travel. He did the non-dilutive fundraising, and it was hard, but he got a lot of money, grant money, folks. So that's a beautiful way to build your business. So I love that advice, Kimmy. How do you recruit founders? So you said that you got your first group through, you had found 6. What criteria do you use for accepting founders into your academy?
Yeah, so we have an open application process. That's important for us when we think about bias in the industry and the warm intro, which I really hate, you have to get a warm intro. So all of the applicants we look at have to fill out our application in order for them to be considered, even if it comes through a referral. But we do everything possible. In the beginning, we were very grassroots. We were going to different groups and universities and entrepreneurial groups and places to basically spread the word. And I think we worked and hustled hard to engage community, as you mentioned. And so for us, it's about founders coming to us, but then also we work with a lot of different groups, both downstream investors and others that refer companies to us as well. Yeah. In terms of what we look for, we are looking for high growth software startups. I did do hardware, but we've decided to focus on software because it's a more cohesive. We can keep that in a same bucket, whereas hardware is a little bit different. But we do look for high growth companies. So we're looking at a lot of the things that other investors look for in terms of the market potential and obviously the industry experience that the founders bring. But for us, because we're at the earliest stages at pre-seed, we look at the founders a lot. And that what we're looking for is what I had mentioned before, is that grit, that hustle, that commitment to the problem. It's not easy to be an entrepreneur. And I think I learned that in the hard way. Is I did try to be an opportunistic entrepreneur.
You did?
Yeah, I was just looking for market potential things that I had done. Anyway, there were a series of them, but ultimately, if your heart isn't in it, if you're not tied to this problem, you're probably not going to make it, because we think that things will take 3 years. They will take 10 plus. So it's about, can you ride the storm? Because it's going to be extremely difficult. There are going to be times where you're questioning yourself, your personal, what am I doing? And so to get through that, you have to be tied to the problem. And so we look for that, and then we look for the team. What have they done to iterate, to pivot? Because you have to be flexible as well. So it's all of those little things that we're looking for, like how does this team work and think, and how committed are they to each other and to this problem?
And so do you have an official cohort that you bring in together?
Yeah.
Like one at a time? You have a whole group that comes in together and you move them through the whole process together?
We do. And
that's great. Camaraderie.
Camaraderie is helpful. And we talked about that, tribe and community. You have to get through this together. And it's been extremely helpful to our founders to have each other and to share the knowledge that they're doing as they go through the things together. It's been wonderful.
And so now you get them, you choose, is it usually 6 per cohort? Are you increasing that size? Okay. And okay. And do they pay?
No. So we invest in the companies, both with capital and then also the human capital component. So we'll get to what we're doing on our next one, but that's the goal. I do want to say one other thing. Yeah. We decided early on in 2018 to go remote. So we don't require our founders to relocate. And that is very fundamental for us, because I think that it hurts many founders. And some founders just can't do it. Yeah. I wouldn't do it if I was a mother with children and had to move for 3 months. That wouldn't work.
And you can build community in a Zoom room, folks.
We absolutely can. It's not the same. It's good to bring people together. And we do have some weeks where we come together.
How long is the program?
6 months. We work with our founders for 6 months.
Great. And is there anything that you provide after they graduate from the experience?
We often keep working with our companies, depending on where they are. And again, that's because no one route is the same. One thing that's very important for us is not to have a cookie cutter program. It's to be very, very flexible. So sometimes we go to weekly, basically coaching after the program. And then obviously any supports that they need and connections, we continue to support them there. So we have this is a long-term relationship that we're building with our founders, or we're committed to them. But no, not cookie cutter. And we don't force anyone to fundraise when they're not ready. So if they're not fundraising at the end of the program, completely fine. I think they need to pick the right path.
And is it just you and Sergio, or do you have other mentors that you bring in with specific experiences and expertise? And how do you find them?
Yeah, we have a bench of coaches that we actually pull on and work on. We're actually growing our marketing one, so that's one of my asks later. But we have different expertise that we bring in. Obviously, we can't do everything, and part of what we do is we try and pair them with experts that actually work alongside them. So, for instance, if they're doing a Facebook advertising campaign that they need to tweak and run, and we can bring someone in who explicitly does that and can help set it up, but then also train the founders so that they can take it going forward.
Excellent. Natasha. She's a great female founder, Facebook ad person. Amazing.
Reach out to me.
Yes, channel marketing. Come on, Natasha. And then you talk about, too, how important daily mentorship is.
Yeah.
How does that work? I mean, who has the time for that?
We do, and we make it. And we also have 2 other coaches that are with us all the time. So Rose, who's our partner, she's our fundraising coach. And then we also have James in Chicago, and he does a lot of the partnership and strategic partnership work with our founders. But no, I think that's the critical piece that we saw missing in programs and in other support metrics that we've seen is oftentimes with mentorship, you're told like from a high level what to do. And they're said like, go and try this. And then we don't actually get down to the tactical, okay, how do you do it? And that's where the gaps are, day-to-day execution. And what we are trying to instill in founders over the 6 months is like, we're going overseas, we're getting, but it's to just be always iterating. It's not about one big pivot. It's every single day is holding yourself accountable. Are you working on the right things, and are you moving in the right direction? So we set up Scrum processes with our founders to just manage everything, product, marketing, and fundraising, because that is the rigor that's needed to make sure you're executing and that you're actually tracking to metrics, because you're working on a lot of different things, but it may not be the things that you should be working on, and that will move your business forward.
Right. And founders, this is so important. You know this, but having someone setting up the pattern of thinking this way and tracking numbers a certain way and building in systems and procedures early on with your business becomes something that you start just doing naturally. And that 6-month period is going to turn it into, just like you're working out. You're going to just get up, you're going to do it. You're going to be thinking and training your brain to think like a founder. So not only are you working in your business, you're working on your business and you're understanding all the parts and pieces. Oh my gosh, daily mentorship. Excuse me. That's a lovely thing to have. This is an amazing program, but I've got to ask, how do you all make money?
So we're under the hood, we're structured as a fund.
Okay.
So in order to make those investments, other investors invest in us, and that's how we are able to capitalize ourselves. And we make money also when our founders do well.
Okay.
That's what always is our North Star and what we're aiming for.
That's awesome. AJ's got a great question here. As the general partner looking from the top down, does it really take 6 months to know whether a team has what it takes to be successful?
It's a great question. It could take longer. It could take a year sometimes. I think, investors have hubris sometimes that we know right away, but every investor has the investment that got away and that they didn't see. And I think founders can surprise you. And so I never try and put anyone in a box. I could get it wrong by the end of 6 months. But what I do know by the end of 6 months is I have a lot more data and data points. I know that team. I know them personally. We cry together, we share things together, but I also know where they're strong and where they're weak and how best we can help them move their business forward.
And fill the holes. It's such a great question, AJ, especially when I'm sure that you have a filtering process for when you bring them on, so that you as a fund know that this team is going to at least do their best to make it happen. There's never a guarantee, folks, but the possibility. Delicious.
I mean, it's everything we do. We're making the best decisions we can with the information that we have. And for us, we are data driven. So we have much more data because we've worked so intimately with our founders over that time.
Right. So is the investment amount that they come on with the same for each, or are you working out different terms for each person, each team in the cohort?
No, we have 2 levels. So we make either $150K or a $200K investment.
Okay. That's awesome. That's great. So you've got to work out those terms with the founders, et cetera. Tell us something that it's just been a couple of years you've been at it, about 3?
3 years now, yeah.
Hey, congratulations. Hey, year 4. What have you learned? Like, what was one of those great, I don't call them failure moments, but learning moments when you go, ooh, we're going to do that differently next time?
Every day we're learning. The biggest one was in 2018. So our first group, we actually had our founders relocate to Utah. And I realized that was the wrong thing to do immediately. Even if a founder can move, it's not that they should. And I think at the earliest stages, we always say, stay close to your market. And I know we heard of a couple of founders taking them away from their market. And that was why immediately in 2018, we decided we're not doing that anymore. And we actually went remote after our founders graduated to start working with them remotely. I think that was the biggest learning. And part of it too was like understanding our group. And this is what I talk about with other programs. When you think about, you have an aspiration of serving a different set of founders, there's what are you doing to actually change how you work to adapt to what they need. And so some of our founders were even coming in with high levels of debt, which we didn't know and couldn't know. But that is an onerous thing to then relocate for 3 months. It doesn't map out. And so that was a big thing that we learned, is that, everybody's circumstances are different and relocation is just the wrong thing to do. The second thing that we learned, and I'll just quickly say it, is we knew we needed to do a lot more. So in 2018, it was just Sergio and myself. In 2020, we had a much bigger bench. We had 4 permanent coaches, and then we had a bench and a marketing group that we worked with. And that's the kind of level that we knew we needed. It needed to be much more immersive and have all of those different kinds of support.
Excellent. And share a success, a win or two. Because, you've been at this for 3+ years. I'm sure there's a moment you want to. So happy this happened. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm extremely happy about our portfolio company, FIVABLE, which is run by Amanda Duamaral. They have done incredibly well and had a phenomenal year in 2020, despite all of the problems of 2020. But they're an ed tech company.
How do you spell that?
It's FIVABLE, FIVEABLE.
FIV as in Victor?
Yeah, like 5. FIVABLE.
FIVABLE. Okay, I'm going to find them. I'm going to put, free live stream reviews.
FIVABLE.me. That's them. Yeah. They are incredible, by the way. So run by a female founder of color. She was a teacher, actually a Teach for America teacher that was teaching AP history in Oakland, actually. But she had moved to Maine by the time that we had found her. But she realized that, your success in the AP is basically tied to your zip code, and that is just not right. And so she saw the opportunity to basically bring that education online and use community. We talked about community to drive learning. And so building camaraderie around students and teachers so that they could actually have a social learning environment that would help them to pass. And so their success rates are amazing. So beyond the business success, I love the impact this company is having because they serve about a quarter of AP students now. Their pass rates are way above the average and the national average. They're reaching students everywhere, which is just incredible. And their success is just, it stands on its own. And they've built amazing resources. Many of them are free. So all of you parents or students, if you're listening, it's an incredible resource that I know is going to go way, way beyond the AP landscape and just change the way that we educate students. But they had a phenomenal year. The growth has been amazing. They're helping amazing students across the nation. And they received $3.5 million in funding last year.
Nice.
With many great investors coming on board. And so they're on a very big rocket ship right now, as we like to say. And I love that how they've been able to execute and to grow this company, all basically guided by their students.
That's wonderful. We're all going to go follow them, right? Click on the link, go to the link. It'll be in the show notes, etc. Show some love. Tell them that Kimmy sent you. Data boom. Seriously, that's wonderful news. And you know, it's to know that you were instrumental in giving that company some, not just a lift financially, but a lift in knowledge and capability and so many other ways. That's phenomenal. AJ, that's true. Stay close to your market. So true. Reminds me of the story of when Paul Graham yelled at the founders of Airbnb when they were at Y Combinator.
Yep. It's so important, like listening to the customer. And to go back to FIVABLE and Amanda, and this was of her own, she said that, you know, when she had a critical business decision, she just thought, what do the students need? And so always letting the market and your customer drive your decisions because they ultimately are the ones that are going to determine your success.
Folks, that's why you just always have to be talking to your customers, listening, engaging, etc., because they're the ones who are going to teach you what you need to know. That's tremendous. And it has to be so much fun because, again, you didn't just put money in, Kimmy. You got to really help and create an outcome. That must feel amazing.
Yeah, I give all the credit to my founders always, but I think the biggest thing is that we took a chance and an investment in a founder where they would not have met the pattern. She didn't come from a tech background. She was living in Maine, not in the Bay Area, didn't have a tech co-founder at the time. But what she was able to do with so little and the vision that she had and that connection to the students, to the AP space and her industry experience, all of those things were what we knew would make her fundamentally successful. And everything else can be filled. Everything else can be trained.
Absolutely. That is such a gift. Seriously, you're the gift that keeps on giving.
I hope so.
So let's talk about your newest initiative, introducing New Pattern. So talk about that, folks. You can read about it here on the screen while Kimmy shares.
Yeah, so New Pattern, like we said, it kind of came, we had actually developed New Pattern before it's taken the path it's taken. But for us, when you look at just like what's been out there in the media and what we're told can be done and who can do what, for us, we wanted to try and change the narrative. And we wanted to change the narrative by combining forces with many different people that are working on this problem. Because I think, you know, everybody's coming at this in different ways. We have women's groups, we have groups that are dedicated to Black entrepreneurs or founders, and also just Black professionals. But what we wanted to do with New Pattern was really create coalitions, because everybody works in the silos sometimes. So we wanted to bring people together to basically tackle all the problems that we know exist across the landscape. So not just at pre-seed or seed or, even before that. So New Pattern actually got new life last year after the murder of George Floyd. We wanted to do something else beyond what we were already doing to really help the communities that were suffering the most, which is Black founders were having extreme issues both with COVID and then George Floyd's murder. So
Right.
we combined forces with a group called Womenpreneurs, dedicated to female founders, and we decided to first focus on female Black founders in Utah, and we provide grants, 10K grants to female founders. Again, combination of both funding and then human capital support. So we also have lots of resources that we help these founders with, both coaching and mentorship. And we've launched it in Utah. It was for Black female founders there, and we're also doing it in Chicago. So the point for me is that there are so many gaps across, so many cracks that founders can fall through across the continuum, and we know it starts before we find our founders. So this one basically works before we do, to help provide what was friends and family, which a lot of founders don't have access to, capital, to help them actually start their businesses and kickstart them.
Aren't you guys so happy you're learning about Beta Boom? And now newpattern.org. Come on, to know that you're out there, and also follow them everywhere they glow. I of course have the links to Beta Boom, and everywhere they're providing so much important information for founders to succeed, whether it's on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, but follow them, because, and if this is right for you, please apply. And, you'll learn a lot from the application process. And who knows, you might get into this incredible program. Okay, so I just want to put it out there. And I'm so happy for you and Sergio too, that you get to do such meaningful work. I mean, you can get up every day and know that you're changing lives and you're changing the world. And the fact that people don't have to be uprooted to come and be part of Beta Boom and meet other founders. I'm sure this has been your experience too. I know for me, as an accelerator mentor for several organizations here in Boston, the camaraderie in the cohort, oh my gosh, the support, having founders who know what you think and what you're going through and how tough it is, no matter what stage you're at. And it's so, so helpful. And it really takes the burden off any family or loved ones who really don't want to hear any more about your business.
So true. And we saw that in our last Women's Academy. We had a smaller cohort because of COVID related issues. So we had 4 founders, and they have incredible ties. And actually all of them have not actually met in person, but they continue to do happy hours. We usually do it weekly, and they continue their own, and they support each other. They share information, and having additional founders who know the experience and can actually share some of their learnings, incredibly impactful.
Yeah, and as you know, as a teacher and having been a student, going through a curriculum is really bonding, because you've had to struggle through the same exercises and learning together, and it's just wonderful. I'm a huge fan. Thank you, Mia. Create a new pattern. Yes, that's a stitch it on a pillow moment, right? Oh my gosh. So Kimmy, you're the founder, like so many of the folks who are watching. You have a lot more experience and you work with founders, but when have you felt inadequate as a founder? What did that look and feel like? And how did you shift yourself out of it? What advice can you give folks who are struggling with their founder journey right now?
Sure. And this is something I feel still every day, is inadequacy. And I can talk about it, but I've also had moments where I've had that feeling like I'm not worth doing what I'm doing. But I think there are moments where I feel just overwhelmed and like I'm not getting through enough. And that's definitely something I felt at the beginning of my career. I still feel it today. Some of what I've talked about has helped me grow as an entrepreneur and as a business leader, is to actually be better about prioritizing and keeping myself accountable. But what I had talked about before is fundamentally important, is build a team and actually delegate. Because although you could do everything, you will do all of them poorly unless that you actually get support in doing that. And so that's something I remind myself of daily. It's like, if I'm doing something, is this something that I could have someone else help me with? Or someone else could do this better than I could do. And I think that's extremely important starting out, is to always be thinking about building the team and building your capacity, because you can't do everything alone.
You really can't. I'm so sorry. But you got to figure out how you're going to get the money in if you need to, and get that team on board and put your founder inspirational skills to work, making it so delicious for people to join you that can't help but be part of your team and the exciting opportunity that you have. How can we, the Startup Life community, serve you and BetaBoom? Where do you need help? How can we put more wind into your sails?
Well, I would love for you all to engage me, especially if you're a founder. I'm always trying to make connections and talk to more founders and learn about your needs. Again, we also are iterating every day, so it's fundamental that we keep talking to founders to make sure that we are building toward the right things that founders need. Right now, we are actually in our own fundraise, and that's why I don't have concrete timelines for when we will be doing our next round of cohorts. But I'm looking to talk to anyone who is interested in what we're doing, who could be either downstream investors or could be interested in working with us in some capacity. And then the third thing, like I mentioned, is we're always looking for great marketers, even product professionals that could or want to work with founders like ours. We're always looking to talk to you.
Excellent. Okay, you all know what you need to do. All right. And I have the links to BetaBoom. And of course, I put in the show notes as well, but also in the comment threads, how to connect on LinkedIn with Kimmy. Go do it, build your network, and find out more about this amazing venture academy, BetaBoom. Curious mind wants to know the guitar, electric guitar in the background. What's that about?
That's all Sergio. That's not me. I used to play the clarinet. It doesn't have as good a background value as a guitar.
And now, is he jazz electric or is he rock electric? What's he doing?
A little bit of more rock, I think. Yeah.
I want to know more, Sergio. I really do. Any last words for our founders before we wrap up today?
I would say, yes, if you are struggling with anything, try not to do it on your own. Reach out to people. And then I know we're in a new year. Set your goals for Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And then, yes, reach out to me. I would love to hear from more founders.
Oh, I'm so grateful you joined me on the Startup Life live show, Kimmy. Knowing you more personally like this is wonderful. I'm so grateful for our time together. I'm so excited for what you and Sergio are doing and how you're serving the world with BetaBoom. Thank you so much for bringing your glow to the Startup Life show. Oh my gosh, that rhymes.
You can use that one. Stitch it on a pillow.
Right, exactly. Thank you so much. And viewers, thank you for tuning in to the show today. I know you grabbed some nuggets that will help you with your founder journey. I'm always grateful for your time and your commitment to your work in the world and your business in the world. And archive viewers, I'm thrilled to see you. Hi, and that you stayed here. And if you have any questions for Kimmy or me, please pop them into the comment threads or reach out to us via email. Everything you needed was in our banner, and are in the show notes, so you can find us. And again, for those of you who are watching the recording, I'd be so grateful if you were to like the video and click the subscribe button. I also want to say to founders, Kimmy mentioned this a lot of times, you do not need to go on your journey alone. It will not serve you to go on your own. Coaching is so important. And, when you get help like BetaBoom, you are saving time. You're saving valuable time. You're saving money. You're saving so many things that will keep you back and will hold you back. So let me share with you how I work with founders. So I do on-demand coaching. You book me 15 minutes, 30 minutes. You have a problem, you pick up the phone, Ande, it's very easy to work with me. I'm not into the commitment of, talking so many times over a 3-month period. It's when you're in the middle of the mess and you need someone to talk to and need help. I'm here for you. I also provide pitch deck reviews, and it's $500. I have raised millions in venture capital, thousands in angels, and I'm a co-host of a monthly pitch event. I know what founders are looking for in a deck. I've got a phenomenal deck myself for templates that you can purchase. But again, if this is the first time you're raising money, get support with that pitch deck. And then for you female founders, you may have thought about getting WeBank certified, right? That's the gold standard for being a woman-owned business. I help with that. It's $400 to help you with the application, because so many times you can go into those applications and go, oh my God, ruh-roh, and run from the room. It's a complicated one, but you do leave money on the table if you're a B2B business. So be sure to at least, do this. You can book a 15-minute conversation with me. It's free. Scan that QR code and find a time we can talk together. I'd love to learn more about you and your business. Okay, so here we go. Let me tell you, next on the Startup Life Live show, I laugh because I got to tell you, Royal L. Rodden, all right, he is joining us January 12th at 1 p.m. EST. I adore this man. I follow him on Instagram. He is coming to help feed our minds and hearts with inspiration. Royal is a philosopher, transformational speaker, a resilience coach, and he's the founder of RTI Empowerment Center. And I have to tell you, on Instagram, you will be inspired every day by his thoughtful and transformational posts. He is really extraordinary. So Tuesday, January 12th, 1 p.m. EST on the Startup Live Show, he'll be joining us for a delicious conversation. And hey, don't miss out on any of these shows. To receive an alert whenever I post a new event, please join my meetup group, Startup Life Live. And there's that QR code again to make it real easy for you to join me. And anytime, live, replay, whatever works for you. And of course, connect. I'm on all the social media platforms. I'd love to learn more about what you are doing and to connect with you and add some wind to your sails. So in the meantime, I know this is tough times that we're going through. We've got a raging pandemic. We've got so much disruption going on. I just want to invite you to do your best, to stay focused, to stay healthy. In some locations, please stay home. And remember that you've got this. And as Kimmy said earlier, you don't want to do it alone. Reach out and make sure you're getting support from folks, okay? We'll see you next time, all right? And stay strong. Cheers, everyone. Mwah.